The events in Israel a couple of weeks ago, in my opinion, seems to have shocked a lot of people that are traditionally very liberal Democrats into being red-pilled. I have had a number of calls with individuals over the last few weeks that have historically been very diehard blue liberal Democrats, have spent their time with NGOs, with nonprofits, with various efforts to promote liberal causes. And these are folks who may or may not be Jewish, but who have been so shocked by what's happened in Israel and how many liberal organizations have created this narrative around being pro-Palestinian in a way that is being deemed and is coming across as highly, and in many cases is very much anti-Semitic. And so I've had folks say, I'm giving up everything else I'm doing, and all I'm going to do is change the causes I'm working on now. And I have just been red-pilled. Do you guys, and Chamath, you shared your story on our show a couple of weeks ago. The clip of you saying that went viral on how you kind of recognized that maybe Trump was a good president in the context of what you're experiencing with the Biden administration now, or seeing with the Biden administration now. You seem to be like the case study that I'm now hearing more from Silicon Valley folks, about the shift.
I think that over the last 3 or 4 years, my political positions really haven't changed that much. But I think what's happened is that the political party that I've historically been affiliated with has just kept lurching further and further to the left. And so it leaves me looking for a new home, I think. And I think that there are a lot of people that thought they were signing up for a set of beliefs around free speech, around being pro-reproductive rights, around being supportive of LGBTQ issues, but also supportive of a rational approach to the border and reasonable fiscal discipline. These are all seem to just be totally out the window. So I understand, because I've actually talked to a lot of my friends, and my friends, some of them have been huge donors to both elite colleges and the Democratic Party. And they've paused all of it. And it's definitely given me pause. And I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here, because I think the reality is that this is a really crazy situation. So I think that there's just a lot of people that are in the center that don't really belong anymore the way that the Democrats represent themselves. So there's clearly something going on that we just need to get to the bottom of here, because I think it's not probably the Democratic Party that a lot of people thought that they belonged to.
Do you have other friends and folks that you know that have traditionally been Democrat donors in Silicon Valley, Chamath, that you see are now maybe considering shifting where they're giving money to Republican Party candidates and causes?
I think it's easy to say that amongst my friends, it's in the billions of dollars that's been paused. That's insane. That's a lot of money.
Sachs, you used to be part of a niche in Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley Republican niche. Is your niche growing?
I think so. I actually made a list of, I think, 8 issues that have driven this shift. And when you say there's been a shift right, I wouldn't say that there's been a shift all the way to the right, but I think there's been a shift from the left to the center.
By the way, that statement is consistent with what I've heard personally from a lot of folks, which is I consider myself a centrist now that I see that some of these liberal causes they're extreme from my point of view.
Right. So let me rattle off what I think the key drivers are. Number one, reckless fiscal and monetary policies coming out of Washington. As Druckenmiller says, we've been spending like drunken sailors. Number two, the dismal state of San Francisco because of crime, drugs, homelessness, and so on. And we all know that's an extreme one-party government. Number three, the ruinous COVID policies. They botched the science. They harmed the educational development of kids. And they also harmed work culture by making employees feel permanently entitled to work from home. So that's number three. Number four, this long con of regulatory capture in both Washington and Sacramento that we just talked about with AI. People are waking up to that. Number five, the betrayal of true liberal values like free speech and open inquiry. Number six, the way that tech visionaries like Elon have been targeted for harassment by left-wing politicians. Remember, Biden said we need to look into this guy. Lorena Gonzalez was even less subtle. She said simply, F Elon Musk. Number seven, the growing awareness that wokeness has gone way off the rails. We saw this even before the Israel-Hamas war, but now I would say number 8 is this war. It's really throwing gasoline on the fire by showing that wokeness leads to this simplistic breaking up of the world into oppressor and oppressed categories. And what we're seeing is that there's a lot of people in the woke left who are basically cheering for a terrorist organization, and they're able to rationalize atrocities because of this simplistic woke dichotomy. That being said, I do think it's possible to support the desire for a Palestinian state and a two-state solution without falling into that bucket. I want to be clear about that. But I think that there's been way too many people on the woke left who have blithely disregarded the atrocities and were basically cheering for Hamas from day one on this thing. And I think that has woken up a lot of liberals, both Jews and non-Jews, who saw Jews as allies on the left. And when they see Jews being attacked this way, that has led them to really, I think, question their priors on this.
What did you think of the Kamala Harris announcement yesterday that they're launching a program to combat Islamophobia in the U.S. at a time when my understanding is many of their Jewish donors are up in arms about their lack of action on anti-Semitism? I mean, it just
seemed tone deaf. I mean, look, I have not seen, in this particular case, I don't think I've really seen outpourings of Islamophobia. To be clear, I'm against Islamophobia. I'm against hatred towards any particular group, including Muslims or Jews. To me, any outpouring of hate towards a particular group is bad. But yes, this seems like a problem that we really haven't seen. So it seems a little bit tone deaf. And look, this administration's been kind of stumbling around on this whole issue. It seems like they don't really know what to do.
I don't know how to quantify it. I just think it's an anecdote.
What do you think?
No, I'm saying I don't know how to quantify it, but I think that the anecdote is a lot of folks.
No, I'm saying, what do you think? What do you feel?
What do I feel?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a party guy. Taking a step back, this is going to get a little esoteric, but I think humans organize into social systems. One social system is a family, one is a company. And I think that the government is a social system. The point of a social system is to get influence to achieve the things you want to achieve by aggregating together, by creating a tribe, by creating a system. And that's what a government is. It lets a lot of people pool resources to get things done as a group that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get done individually. Same with a company, same with a family, to support each other, et cetera. And I think that the problem with democratically elected governments, or all governments for that matter, frankly, is like any other system. And I've said this in the past, they have a natural incentive to grow. I met with a government person the other day, well-known government person, and I was struck by the tone. I've been struck by the tone on multiple people I've met from the government on here's all the next things I'm going to get done, and here's how we're going to grow and do more and be bigger. Just like if you're running a company, that's your incentive. That's your model of thinking. And like with your family, you want to grow the balance sheet for your family. You want to have another home. You want to take care of, you want to build security, et cetera. So governments as an organizing system are no different. And so I think that in a democracy, over time, there is, as Sachs points out, a group of folks who get elected, and as a result, like a philosophy that endures in that system, that is all about overcoming the power that is, that we all view there to be powers that are keeping us from doing the things we want to do. And I think that this is the ultimate manifestation of what happens, is that you push the government to be as big as possible with no end, and you push the government to destroy any system of power that gets in the way of those who are able to vote these folks in. And now a lot of folks who thought that they were supporting liberal causes to help those in need are realizing that you're actually repressing minorities in the process, that there are minorities that are viewed to be powerful, like Jews, that there are minorities that are viewed to be unfairly advantaged, like those in the tech industry, that there are minorities who are viewed to be unfairly advantaged, like billionaires. And I know that this sounds insane to say that, those terms, but that's the objective, is to destroy any system of power, any individual of power that has any form of leverage over us. It's also why I think we've generally been techno-pessimistic in the West since the late 1960s, early 70s, is because technology has been viewed as this point of leverage for creating a power system for a minority of the people. So I generally view this as part of a longer arc and a natural kind of conclusion to this stuff. And, I'm not trying to be super pessimistic about where things are going, because I do see that a lot of folks are now waking up to this reality, and they're like, so my anecdote is I've had a lot of folks tell me in the last couple of weeks, we have to be thoughtful about how we elect and how we govern so that we create a more balanced,
so what's the thoughtful. What's the end game in your framework? My
end game is socialism. I think that's where things go, ultimately, long term. I think that there's a recapturing and a redistribution of power and value. I think that there's some degradation of the system that erodes to looking like something like France. It's not like a nasty, and it's like a slow whimpering, like you end up looking like France or something.